All right, hello to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. It is time to track the tropics. And as I've been mentioning earlier this week, every day that we get through, that is one day that we are closer to the end of hurricane season. So we will get there, but we've still got to get through the last little bit of October and, of course, all of November. The good news for the Houston area, yes, we were hit once so far this season by Hurricane Beryl back on July 8th, but since then, all of the other storms have moved in other directions. Of course, that's bad news for other folks, but for us here in Houston, at least things have been quiet since that hit by Beryl, which of course blew up to a Category 5 at one point, but hit Houston as an 80-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane. So here's where we are so far for the 2024 Atlantic Basin hurricane season. We've had 15 named storms, starting off with Alberto early in the season and ending with Oscar, which of course fell apart yesterday. It is extratropical now, still a storm, but it's no longer a tropical system. So we do have 15 named storms. As I mentioned, 10 of those became hurricanes and 4 of those became major hurricanes. Those major hurricanes included Beryl, of course, up to a Cat 5 at one point, Helene, which blew up to a monstrous Category 4 and caused catastrophic flooding across parts of the Appalachians. Also, we had Kirk that grew to a Category 4 and Milton that rapidly strengthened in the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to a Category 5 hurricane. Thank goodness, though, Milton at least didn't make landfall as a Category 5, but it was super scary looking at one point. So here is the good news. At this point, no hurricanes, no tropical storms, no tropical depressions across the Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean Sea, or Gulf of Mexico. But we are looking at the remnants of Oscar. Remember, yesterday morning, Oscar was still a tropical storm, bringing some heavy rain, gusty wind to parts of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. It's now moving away from the Bahamas and from the Turks and Caicos, but it is still going to be producing some heavier rain. So it is basically bringing some wind and some rain to parts of Bermuda at this point. Our exclusive Fox model will show you just that. It's hanging out over Bermuda this evening and tonight. By tomorrow morning, though, weather conditions should start to improve for the Bermuda area as this extratropical low starts to push north of Bermuda, and it will kind of brush by parts of Canada towards the end of the work week. So that's pretty much all that we have across the Atlantic Basin. We have the moving away from the Bahamas, and tomorrow it'll be moving away from Bermuda, but no additional systems that we are monitoring. So right now the National Hurricane Center is saying that, hey, over the next 7 days, things should be fairly quiet across the Atlantic Basin. We're not expecting any big time tropical waves that could blossom into tropical depressions, tropical storms, or hurricanes. So this is going through the next 7 days, but what about if we expand that to the next 10 days or so? Well, there are a few models right now that are indicating that, hey, maybe by early November, something could potentially get going once again across parts of the Atlantic Basin, particularly in parts of the Caribbean, maybe close to Central America. Now, earlier in the season, I talked about that Central American gyre. It's that big sprawling area of low pressure that kind of hangs out over Central America, but occasionally it can help to spin off a little area of low pressure that could become a tropical system. So we could have that potentially happening by the beginning of November, but right now, as you can see all across the Caribbean and Gulf, we are nice and quiet, just the way we like it. So hopefully that will continue. Now, I want to show you the Saffir-Simpson scale because this is our hurricane wind scale, and of course it helps to measure the damage potential from those wind speeds from these hurricanes. And of course, some of the most powerful hurricanes are the Category 4s and Category 5s. So that Category 5 starts at 157 miles per hour. Now, I'm mentioning this because, like I said, it's fairly quiet in the Atlantic Basin, but as we hop over to the other portion of the coast of Central America, the western coast, we have a very powerful hurricane to the west of Central America and to the west of Mexico. This is Hurricane Kristy, and you can see that it is definitely a very organized hurricane, a well-defined eye. very symmetrical, and it has rapidly intensified. In fact, it is now close to Category 5 hurricane status. But the good news is that it is moving away from Central America and away from Mexico. So here is the latest with Hurricane Kristy. It is moving to the west around 20 miles per hour, and that pressure is plummeted all the way down to about 928 millibars, and wind has increased to 155 miles per hour. Now, we just looked at that Saffir-Simpson wind scale, 2 miles per hour more, and this is a Category 5 hurricane. So this thing is a monster, but notice the movement to the west at 20 miles per hour. So this is Mexico here, and it is moving away from Mexico and away from the U.S. However, it is actually expected to get even stronger over the next day or so, and it likely will briefly become a Category 5 hurricane over the next day or two. Then as we go into this weekend, early next week, it will start to turn northwest and push into some cooler waters out there in the Pacific, and it should gradually start to weaken. Also notice that it is not getting close to any major land area during this time. So that's great news, because that would be devastating. That is a pretty serious hurricane. All right, back to the Atlantic basin. So far for this season, we've had 15 named storms, 10 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes. As I've been mentioning, we are now above average for the season, and we've still got about a month and a week to go for the 2024 hurricane season. So very close to that range of named storms that NOAA predicted at the beginning of the season. We are already in that range for the number of hurricanes they predicted, and as far as major hurricanes are concerned, we are right there. NOAA predicted 4 to 7 major hurricanes, and we've already had 4. So it has already been a very busy season. Do we have anything else to worry about? Well, like I said, about 10 days from now, the models are indicating that there could potentially be an area of low pressure that may try to develop right off the Central American east coast. That will be south of the Yucatan Peninsula. Those water temperatures, as you can see, are still very warm out there in many spots across the Gulf, Western Caribbean, Western Atlantic. We've still got a lot of sea surface temperatures in the 80s. So that means there's definitely the potential for more tropical development, even though we are creeping closer to the end of the season. All right, for the rest of October, do we have a chance for more named storms? Well, the chance is getting lower, but you can see the areas highlighted in orange would be the areas at highest risk for any additional tropical depressions, tropical storms, or hurricanes. That would be parts of the western and central Atlantic and down around the northwestern Caribbean Sea and southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Now, as we shift into November, the chance for named storms will drop even more, but the areas highlighted in yellow mean that, hey, it's possible we could still have a tropical system form in these locations. So notice just off of the east coast of the U.S. and the western Atlantic, there's a possible chance there. The central portions of the Atlantic, there's the potential, if not low, but there's the chance that we could have a tropical depression or tropical storm. And western, northwestern sections of the Caribbean Sea. Those are the areas with the highest shot for tropical development for November. Notice there's no yellow in the Gulf. That's because the chance for a system developing in the Gulf in November is really, really low, but we can't totally rule it out. So just don't let your guard down. Things are calming down a bit temporarily, but like I said, keep in mind we still have a little over a month to go, so we are still going to be monitoring things very closely. The chance that we could have another hurricane, another tropical storm heading towards the Houston area, super low, but we could still have something popping up in the Caribbean, as I mentioned, in about 10 days, maybe around November 1st, November 2nd. That is going to be the time frame that we'll be monitoring for that next possible system. But let's just celebrate the fact that right now we've gotten rid of Oscar as a tropical system. Things are calming down across the Atlantic basin, and hopefully you can get out in the Houston area and other spots and enjoy the nice weather we are having in Houston. And it is going to be hot, but at least the tropics will not be bothering us. Remember, we'll continue to do these tropical updates every afternoon throughout the duration of our hurricane season, of course, which comes to a close on November 30th. So check them out. Of course, you can get them on Fox Local, Our streaming app, now for your smart TV as a download, and now you can download it on your phone. So make sure to go and download that and check out some of the cool content that we have on there if you haven't already. All right, that will do it for your tropical update for today. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. Enjoy the rest of your day.